Hey everybody, welcome back to theclinicaltrialsguru.com. Again, it's theclinicaltrialsguru.com. So I haven't done one of these interviews in a while with Luke Eddington from Data Farm, right? And for those of you who are subscribed to YouTube, you'll notice that tomorrow I'll do another interview. Luke, I didn't even tell you. I'm interviewing Ibrahim from drugdev.org. He's like one of the top execs there. So drugdev.org is a pretty big drug website portal where they conduct a lot of feasibility surveys on behalf of sponsors as part of the whole Transcelerate movement. So yeah, thank you for coming on, Luke. It's going to be you today, Ibrahim tomorrow, and then we'll see who comes on next week. All right, so thanks for coming on, Luke from Data Farm, all the way in Sydney, Australia, down under. Welcome to the show.
Hi Dan, thanks. What a lineup. Very exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited. So, speaking of exciting, you just came back from I saw you pretty active on Instagram the other day. You were at a conference in Australia for social media, is that right?
Yeah, we were talking about social media and clinical trials in social media. So yeah, just basically talking about what's happening at the moment with how it's being used. I was with another social media company, Michelle Gallagher, at the Social Science, and she's got some really cool stories about what's happening out there at the moment. And so we're both sharing a bit of our experience about using using social media to the advantage of clinical trials, and also looking at some of the things that can go wrong, and so talking about the double-edged sword, basically.
And what was the take-home message from this conference?
Well, I think the overall take-home message, if I can summarize, even though it was probably an hour of a lot of good discussion, was that if you're not including social media in your clinical trials plan from the start, then you're missing out on some massive opportunities. And I mean, not all projects are obviously going to be relevant for utilizing social media, but like this particular conference was to do with medical devices, and there's a lot of opportunities with medical devices using social media and incorporating social media into the overall marketing mix of your project. I mean, it's very clear that you can raise your money online through using some social media aspects to your promotion. You can recruit your patients online and even run your study and collect the data online. And then you can even sell your product online. And a lot of that's got to do with social media. So social media is probably more of the big umbrella statement on a lot of other aspects.
It wasn't just patient recruitment. It was
No, not at all.
Okay,
Not at all.
okay.
Yeah. So, but I think the thing is, it's obviously a very conservative industry, and I think as the comfort level becomes, when companies become more comfortable with using social media, it's going to be get more and more interesting. It's already interesting, but as more players come in the game and start using it, it's going to get even more exciting.
Yeah. So as far as like they were talking about, because it was primarily a conference for CROs, or were there pharma companies there as well?
Oh, there's all sorts of companies there, lots of interesting people. But yeah, the main point of the discussion was, that companies need to be monitoring what sort of noise is happening out there in public. And I suppose the paradox with social media and all the discussion, it's not like the discussion's never been there pre-social media or online forums and things like that. There's always been some sort of, I suppose, discussion, whether we'd like to acknowledge that or not. It's just now that it's measurable and it's out there, and it's not always something you want to have people talking about your trial online.
No.
And there's some cases that were discussed about people virtually unblinding studies and things like that. But the paradox is that if you didn't have people out there talking about studies they were on or their illnesses and various patient advocates, you can't build up the strength of, for example, Facebook advertising. I mean, it's targeting people that are talking about those sorts of topics. So we kind of need it, but then again, we want to control it, and then we want to get the benefit out of it. So.
Right. We only want the good, not the bad that comes with it.
Yeah, but I mean, you know yourself with promoting trials and recruitment and things like that, the cost effectiveness of running an advertising campaign on something like what Zuckerberg's set up is such a cost effective way of doing things comparative to putting something in the newspaper. Then sometimes the newspaper can work just as well, and you can track all of that stuff now. So measuring everything and the cost you're putting into it, and continually reviewing it, it's good.
Yeah, it's all about knowing your audience and definitely figuring out what kind of information they want to hear and find, and what are they looking for. And the paradox of patient recruitment, social media marketing, is the fact that patients are not necessarily looking for clinical trials because they're not aware that clinical trials even exist. So, but they're looking for stuff. They're looking for information, but it's not clinical research. So what I tell sites to do all the time is, hey, find out what they're looking for, create that, and then in parallel to that, you can have your clinical trial stuff there. So I launched this site. It's brand new. We got a lot of work to do on it, but it's out there. It's called searchtrials.com, and we intend to do all kinds of stuff like integrating healthgrades.com. We're going to encourage patients to review studies. We're going to have a lot of content that's not about clinical research, but about medical conditions and indications that will attract the masses there. And see, the problem, I did a video on this last week, why a lot of these research recruitment companies fail when it comes to social media is they don't want to put the value of creating content that is not directly talking about what they're trying to promote. So if I have a diabetes trial and I just post things about my diabetes trial, people are not going to find it. But if I post things about diabetes, how you can improve your condition, what are the causes, how you can prevent it, you're going to attract people, and then you have the opportunity to introduce them to clinical research. A lot of people don't want to do that work because they know you're creating all this free value for the majority of people who are not going to join your study. But for that 10% or 5% or even 1% that's going to make it all worth it, you need to do that. And they don't want to do that part. They just want to get that 1% without providing all the value, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's our obligation as clinical researchers to get word out about what's happening around the place. So it sounds like an interesting website you're working on. As I mentioned before, we're preparing something that's specifically targeting for Australia and New Zealand at the moment. So hopefully I'll have some more news to share about that at some stage soon.
Yeah. And do you guys at Data Farm use social media for business development? Or you're pretty much the biz dev guy, right?
Well, there's pretty much everyone in a company has something to do with business development.
Okay.
You can't just have one person out there doing, being the face of things. But yeah, I get a lot in. I'm pretty heavily involved in the business development. Yeah.
And what are some of the other CROs out there? What are their thoughts on social media? Because you mentioned at this conference they talked about using it for BD, using it to recruit physicians, using it for patients, using it to actually promote their drug or their product afterwards, right?
Yeah, well, it comes back to what you were saying before. I mean, you basically need to know what you're trying to achieve. And if you don't know what you're trying to achieve by using social media, there's no point in doing it. It's not just, I'm doing social media. It's got to be part of what you're trying to accomplish, So whether social media is the right word to say, I'm just using social media for something. Obviously, there's a lot of opportunities to use it for a whole lot of things. So, there's plenty of examples of people with new inventions raising money through crowdfunding, and plenty of examples of using it for patient recruitment. And there's even, a lot of mobile apps now, and FDA is just releasing different information and guides about mobile apps. And then, in terms of sales online of certain products, that just goes without saying, there's tons of stuff out there.
Hmm.
So yeah, the discussion was pretty sort of general and high level, I suppose. Not going into too many specifics, but no, it was good fun.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah,
It's good to yeah,
I think the key is just providing value up front and not necessarily expecting anything to come out of it, but knowing that it will. Because
yeah,
if you have this filter where you capture as many people as you can, and you already know that only 2 or 3% of those people may actually convert, you still have to service that entire group, right? And you have to give
yeah,
value to all of them just to get those few that will convert. And people in this industry and in every industry, not just clinical research, they don't want to put in that work. There's only a few companies doing it well in across every industry. So it's good news for the researchers is it's wide open for you if you want to get into this. It's just a lot of work, a lot of value. The ROI, return on investment, is not going to be apparent right away, but you're going to have to do it.
yeah. I think the other point was also to make that the patient advocacy groups and patients that are out there, they want to find cures to and help to do research. That's their aim, and we've seen in numerous examples that patients are actually ahead of you know the clinical researchers in a lot of ways sometimes, and often sometimes ahead of the companies that are running the research. They're more on social media than some of those companies. So
Hmm. Hmm.
I think there's a lot of discussion about patient centricity, patient engagement, and things like that. And a lot of the times the patient's already out there engaging, and some of the companies are behind in terms of working out how to link in and get the best value out of
Yeah,
the existence
right. Yeah, I think
of people that want to make it happen.
I
Yeah.
think that's key is the fact that no matter what you're doing, if you're a vendor that needs that has B2B relationships with your clients, or whether you're a research site that is targeting patients, so you're B2C, or whether you're looking for physicians to join your trials, your customers, your target is already out there. They're already interacting. They're already looking at certain things. It's your job to put your stuff in front of their eyeballs because they're out there. They're looking. They're on this thing all day long looking at stuff, and it should make some sense for your stuff to be in front of them too.
Exactly.
Yeah. Good
Sounds
job,
good.
Luke. Good stuff, man.
It's good to be on the show again.
Yeah, nice. We'll do more of these, okay?
Yeah.
What's the weather
When are you
like
coming?
out there?
Well, yeah, it's beautiful. When are you coming to Sydney?
It's on my bucket list, and I'll probably come like in the next 3 years.
All right. Well, it's a race to see who can meet first. Either myself in LA
That's
eating
right.
good food, or you in Sydney eating good food.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, for sure. Try to come out to Scope. I know we talked about it already, but for anyone watching, I'll be there also. The Scope Summit in Miami next year, February 2016. Scope, just like the mouthwash. Okay, I'm not affiliated with it at all, but I'll be there. Right?
Good on you. That sounds good. I wish I could go to Miami too.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been there. Actually, being on the West Coast, we don't get out to the East Coast all that often.
That sounds good. I think you'll love it there. I've never been there though, so
Ah, okay,
yeah, I can't really say.
that's right. Well,
All
thank
right.
you, Luke. We'll do this again very soon. All right. Let's keep creating these at least every other week or maybe one a month. All right.
Yeah, yeah. Keep in touch.
Likewise. Thank you very much, and thanks for watching, everyone. This is Dan and Luke from theclinicaltrialsguru.com. Take care.